Faith disrupted. Why finding God early changes everything. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I want to begin by acknowledging the woman whose wisdom catalyzed the message I'm about to share with you. Malinda Taylor is not just a remarkable individual, she is a force of nature whose spiritual insight has transformed countless lives, including my own. During our recent interview, Melinda revealed truths about faith, purpose, and success that shattered conventional wisdom and rebuilt it into something far more powerful. Her ability to articulate the revolutionary impact of early faith on professional excellence isn't just inspiring, it's world changing. What Melinda understands with crystal clarity is that spiritual foundations laid early become the bedrock upon which truly meaningful lives are built. Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortable. What if everything you've been taught about success is fundamentally wrong? We live in a world obsessed with metrics, aren't we? The corner office, the impressive title, the income that funds luxury vacations and designer wardrobes. And there's nothing inherently wrong with these things. But what if we've been measuring success with a fundamentally flawed yardstick all along? This is the disruptive question that emerged from my conversation with Melinda Taylor. Her perspective doesn't just nudge us to reconsider what constitutes a successful life, it demolishes our conventional understanding and challenges us to rebuild it from the ground up, particularly for Black professionals and entrepreneurs navigating systems that were never designed with them in mind. The conventional wisdom tells us that success comes from working harder, pushing further, sacrificing more. We're taught that achievement requires compartmentalizing our faith and our professional lives, that to succeed in business means adopting a cutthroat mentality that leaves little room for spiritual values. But what if this conventional wisdom isn't just slightly off? What if it's catastrophically wrong? What if true success isn't about separating our faith from our work, but integrating them so completely that they become indistinguishable? What if the most powerful foundation for professional achievement isn't ruthless ambition, but a deep, abiding relationship with God established early in life? This is the counterintuitive truth that emerged from my conversation with Melinda. Finding faith early doesn't limit your professional potential. It exponentially expands it by providing clarity, resilience, and purpose that transcends circumstance. Let me share with you three powerful stories that illustrate this principle in action. In Ashview Heights, Atlanta, a neighborhood plagued by systemic challenges including poverty and crime, a young man named Sean D'Angelo Walton grew up surrounded by negative influences that could have easily defined his future. But Sean had something different, a foundation of faith instilled in him from childhood, reinforced by community elders who recognized his potential when he couldn't yet see it himself. This early spiritual grounding became the compass that guided his life choices. Rather than being defined by his environment, Sean's faith gave him a different vision, not just for himself, but for his entire community. Today, Sean is the founder of Everybody Eats Together, a faith based food initiative transforming his neighborhood. His business model isn't just about profit, it's rooted in spiritual principles of community care, youth employment, and economic self determination. He's working toward opening a community owned grocery store, creating jobs, and fostering collective ownership in a neighborhood that has historically been underserved. When I asked Sean about the connection between his early faith and his entrepreneurial vision, his response was immediate. My faith wasn't something I did on Sundays, It was the lens through which I saw everything, including business. When you believe in a God who multiplies loaves and fishes, you start to see scarcity as a lie and abundance as the truth. What's remarkable about Sean's story isn't just what he's accomplished, but how his early faith shaped his entrepreneurial vision. He didn't separate his business from his beliefs, he built his business model on them. His initiative provides not just jobs and nourishment, but hope, creating a blueprint for faith driven community revitalization that inspires other Black leaders to reclaim and rebuild their communities. This integration of faith and purpose isn't an anomaly. Consider Barbara Borders, CEO of Beyond Borders Business Coaching. Barbara's journey illustrates another dimension of how early faith shapes professional excellence. For years, Barbara provided informal mentorship to colleagues and friends, helping them navigate professional challenges. But it wasn't until she reconnected with her spiritual foundation that she recognized this wasn't just a side activity, it was her calling. I kept trying to fit my gifts into conventional business models, Barbara told me, but God kept pulling me back to what I was designed to do: help others align their work with their purpose. When I finally surrendered to that calling, everything changed. Not just my business, but my sense of fulfillment. Today, Barbara's coaching practice centers on helping entrepreneurs align their businesses with their values and purpose. Her approach prioritizes integrity, faith, and purpose driven leadership, and the results speak for themselves. Her clients report not just business growth, but greater peace, balance, and fulfillment. What's powerful about Barbara's story is how she redefines success on her own terms. In a coaching industry often focused solely on metrics and growth, she created a practice that helps others break through limitations to achieve holistic success. Success that honors both professional ambition and spiritual well being. But what about sustaining success over generations? For this perspective, we can look to the Chicago Defender, founded in 1905 by Robert Singstacker Abbott. This newspaper became a national voice for Black America, enduring for over a century through faith, family, and community commitment. The Defender faced seemingly insurmountable challenges: systemic racism, economic downturns, leadership transitions across generations. Yet it survived and thrived because its founders and their successors leaned on faith, family values, and a deep sense of mission. What began as a weekly newspaper with a circulation of 300 grew to become one of the most influential Black publications in American history. The paper that once encouraged the Great Migration has now successfully navigated its own migration from print to digital platforms while maintaining its core mission and values. The Defender story underscores how faith and purpose can sustain and grow Black institutions, offering a model for current and future leaders. It demonstrates that longevity in business isn't just about profit margins, it's about remaining anchored to the values and mission that inspired its founding. These three stories, Sean's community transformation, Barbara's purpose driven coaching, and the Defender's generational resilience, illustrate a profound truth that Malinda Taylor emphasized in our conversation. Finding faith early provides an anchor through adversity that shapes not just how we respond to challenges, but how we define success itself. This perspective is particularly vital for Black professionals and entrepreneurs who face unique challenges in their journeys. When success is defined solely by its external metrics, the obstacles can seem overwhelming. But when success is anchored in faith and purpose, every challenge becomes a catalyst for growth, every setback an opportunity for testimony. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about using faith as a spiritual bypass, pretending problems don't exist, or avoiding practical solutions. The individuals in these stories faced real challenges that required strategic thinking, hard work, and persistence. But their faith provided something essential, a framework for understanding their work as more than just a means to financial gain. It became a calling, a way to honor their values, serve their communities, and fulfill their purpose. This brings me to another insight from my conversation with Malinda Taylor. Success is more than financial gain, it's about living in alignment with your calling. We live in a culture that often equates success with wealth accumulation. And financial stability is important. It provides options, security, and the ability to create opportunities for others. But when financial gain becomes the primary measure of success, we risk building businesses or careers that consume our spirits rather than nourish them. True achievement comes from honoring your faith, staying rooted in your values, and building a business or career that supports your life and community. It's about creating work that reflects who you are and what you believe, not compartmentalizing your faith and your professional identity. This alignment creates a different kind of resilience. When your work is connected to your deeper purpose, you can weather storms that would otherwise break you. You can face rejection, setbacks, and failures not as definitive judgments on your worth, but as temporary obstacles on a longer journey. The third insight from my conversation with Melinda speaks of this resilience. Your journey, no matter how painful, can become a testimony that strengthens others. Each of the individuals in our stories transformed their challenges into opportunities to empower others. Sean didn't just overcome the limitations of his neighborhood, he created a model for community revitalization. Barbara didn't just find her calling, she built a practice that helps others discover theirs. The founders of The Defender didn't just create a newspaper, they established an institution that would advocate for generations. This perspective transforms how we view hardship. When we understand that our struggles can become stepping stones for others, we find meaning in experiences that might otherwise seem senseless. Our pain becomes purposeful when it becomes part of a larger story of overcoming. And this is perhaps the most counterintuitive truth of all, that our greatest impact often emerges not from our successes, but from how we navigate our failures. When we allow our journeys, including the painful parts, to become testimonies, we create pathways for others to find their way through similar challenges. I stand before you today with an urgent challenge. Reject the false dichotomy between faith and professional excellence. Embrace the disruptive truth that finding faith early doesn't limit your potential. It unleashes it in ways that transform not just your life, but the lives of everyone you touch. The world doesn't need more professionals who have abandoned their spiritual foundations in pursuit of success. It needs leaders whose early faith has become the bedrock of their professional vision. Leaders who see their work not just as a means to financial gain, but as a sacred calling to transform communities, challenge unjust systems, and create legacies that endure for generations. Your early faith isn't something to compartmentalize or apologize for. It's your greatest competitive advantage in a world desperate for authentic leadership. It's the source of resilience that will sustain you when others falter, the wellspring of creativity that will inspire innovation when others stagnate, the foundation of purpose that will guide your decisions when others lose their way. So I ask you, how will you integrate your faith in your professional journey? How will you leverage your spiritual foundation to redefine success on your own terms? How will you transform your challenges into testimonies that light the way for others? The answers to these questions won't just determine your individual success, they'll shape the future of our communities, our institutions, and our world. The time for compartmentalized faith is over. The era of integrated, purpose driven leadership has begun. Will you be bold enough to lead the way?